Jacob, who always hurled verbal abuse at me and tried to control me, while also cheating on me. While on a trip with his mistress, they both got into an accident. When I visited him, Jacob said something outrageous. "My husband is so cold-hearted, he'll never take care of me now that I'm paralyzed from the waist down." Then Jacob confidently boasted, "Don't worry, Anna. I'll have Isabella take care of both of us." "What?" Jacob turned to me. "Please. Take care of us. I'm counting on you too. Let Anna decide the interior. You just need to quietly do as we say. Jacob, you're tough on your wife. She's just a housekeeper." I felt a surge of intense anger rising within me. Take care of them, huh? How dare they ask that? When I broke my arm, he didn't even wash a single dish. What? Why don't you ask your mistress? I'm Isabella, a 52-year-old housewife. I live with my husband Jacob and his son from a previous relationship, William. Jacob seemed hardworking and sincere when we were dating, but after we got married, he turned out to be a very domineering man. I was perplexed, but William, who lost his mother at a young age, adored me like his real mother. Jacob's close relationship with William was heartwarming, so I couldn't bring myself to cut ties and decided to wait and see, hoping Jacob would change someday. The first time I felt something was off was 2 years after we got married. When William entered 4th grade and I started having more free time. I thought about starting a job. Jacob, having attended a prestigious private university himself, had enrolled William in tutoring from kindergarten with the aim of getting him into a similar middle school. Many mothers in our circle were considering middle school entrance exams for their kids too. Inspired by them, who started working to fund their children's education. I wanted to connect with society again, feeling lonely just doing housework and parenting. Hey, some of my friends have started part-time jobs. Maybe I should send out my resume too? I could work at a supermarket and be back by the afternoon. When I brought this up to Jacob after he returned from work, he unexpectedly flew into a rage. Are you saying I don't earn enough? That's not what I'm talking about. You're a manager, and you earn a good salary for someone in your 40s, and I appreciate that. But we'll need more savings if William is going to college. I couldn't understand why Jacob was so upset. I tried to reason with him calmly, not letting his mood affect me. We can manage with just my salary. For now, yes. But if William wants to go to a college out of state or live on his own, we'll be stretched thin. He's planning to apply to my alma mater. You've told him a lot about it, but he might change his mind by the time he's a junior. Plus, we need to save for retirement. Jacob scowled, clearly displeased. You, a housewife, want to live in luxury? I already let you go to the salon and buy clothes. You're pretty much doing whatever you want. I do that with your permission, Jacob. And yes, I would like more financial freedom. Then Jacob looked at me suspiciously. Are you cheating on me? I'm not. I quickly retorted. The conversation was veering off course. We're talking about William's education fund. Besides, does it bother you that much if I work? I asked, genuinely curious. Jacob frowned, his lips forming a displeased line. Of course it does. It makes it seem like I can't provide for the family, which is bad for my public image. What era are you living in? Nobody thinks like that anymore. It felt like he was stuck in a bygone era. I'm healthy, and we don't have young kids or family members needing care. Hearing other mothers starting jobs makes me envious. What happens in other houses is none of our business. Jacob raised his voice, crossed his arms, and looked down at me, smirking. Besides, someone as slow as you couldn't possibly handle a job. You can't even do housework perfectly, let alone juggle it with a job. What? If I start working, of course, I'd expect you, Jacob, to share some of the household chores. Jacob then shouted. What? I won't be able to relax even at home? How much do you want me to work? Are you a tyrant of a wife? I too plan to balance work with housework and parenting. But doing it all alone is hard. That's why I want you, Jacob, to help out, at least on weekends. The idea of making your husband do housework is wrong. Your job is to keep the house in order so your husband can focus on my work. You can't even do that perfectly, and now you want a job? What are you thinking? That's enough. Frustrated, I ended the conversation. It seemed like working outside the home was just a pipe dream. I gave up on convincing Jacob and continued as a full-time housewife, focusing on housework and raising our child. A few years later, while biking to the local supermarket, I swerved to avoid a can at a corner and crashed into a utility pole. My right arm throbbed with pain, so instead of shopping, I went to the clinic. I had fractured my arm, and the recovery was expected to take a month. William, now a high school senior, looked concerned when he saw my condition. Wow, that looks painful. I'll help out with the housework as much as I can. You shouldn't strain yourself, Mom. Thanks, that's a big help. However, Jacob's reaction was unexpectedly harsh. He looked at my cast with annoyance and bluntly said, "You can still make my lunch, right?" Sorry, I can't hold a knife with my dominant arm injured. Can you buy your lunch at the supermarket for a while? Breakfast will have to be bread for now. Jacob then became furiously red-faced. A housewife who can't clean or cook. If you can't take care of your husband, what's the point of you being here? I refuse to support a freeloader. I was told not to move it too much by the doctor. I'm sorry, can you bear with it for just a month? I said apologetically, and finally, Jacob calmed down his anger. Fine. It would leave a bad taste to kick out an injured person. Be grateful for my kindness in keeping a useless burden like you around. His arrogant attitude was appalling, but I just smiled thinly and swallowed any retort. Jacob really did just keep me around, not even bothering to wash a single dish he used. With William's kind help, I managed until my cast was removed. Even when my mother called from back home, I kept quiet about my injury. Your aunt passed away, didn't she? There are some things to take care of, so come home for a bit. Yeah, but it's a 2-hour flight. I'll make time to come home soon. I answered and, after my cast was removed, I went back to my parents' house under the pretense of wanting to see my mother's face. William, who was about to enter college, was studying hard every day. I did what I could to help him, like preparing light meals that wouldn't strain his stomach and gathering information about his desired universities. One day, just before a long weekend, Jacob came home from work and announced with a seemingly excited tone. Man, I've got a business trip during the holiday. It's really busy and troublesome, honestly. It clicked in my mind. It must be a trip with his mistress. I had suspected this for months because his overtime had suddenly increased. He became overly concerned about his appearance, and his business trips out of town became more frequent. He even started taking his phone with him to the bathroom, which was unusual. That's tough. Where to? California? Washington? New York. But don't get your hopes up for any souvenirs or anything. Jacob always became talkative when lying. He had never brought back souvenirs from his trips before. I almost laughed. As he eagerly packed his suits and shirts into his suitcase, I deliberately commented, "You seem pretty excited for a business trip." I'm playing golf with a client. He's a guy I really get along with. Looking forward to dining out too. Oh, really? That's interesting. There was even a New York guidebook nearby. His blatant behavior was so irritating that after Jacob left, I spread a divorce paper on the dining table. Recently, while he was asleep, I had unlocked his phone using his fingerprint and confirmed his interactions with his mistress. I'm the only one for you. We have to make sure your wife doesn't find out. Let's lie about a business trip and meet at a hotel to make love. Such texts, along with photos, I had sent to my phone, making it impossible for him to deny. However, with limited evidence and not wanting to upset William before his exams, I planned to gather more evidence, like pictures of them together, before confronting Jacob with divorce. While tidying up, I I received a call from an unknown number on my cell phone. With suspicion, I answered, and it was from the emergency center at the local hospital.
Are you Mr. Jacob White's wife?
Yes, I am.
Your husband has been in a car accident and is seriously injured.
I gasped.
His life is not in danger, but he needs emergency surgery. Can you come right away? Yes, I'll be there.
Surprised by my own reaction, I realized that even though my love for him had faded, I still cared. After gathering things like clothes and toiletries he would need for the hospital, I hurried to the emergency center and was immediately taken to see Jacob. He was barely conscious and didn't seem to recognize me. Blood was seeping through the gauze on his forehead, and one side of his face was swollen and dark red. Soon, a doctor appeared and told me shocking news.
The CT scan shows that your husband has damaged his spinal cord. Even with surgery, there's a high chance he'll be paralyzed from the waist down.
What?
Please proceed with the hospital admission process right away.
All right. As I stepped into the hallway, I noticed a police officer standing by. I wanted to ask about the accident details, but the person who was with Jacob had been taken to surgery, and both Jacob and the person he collided with weren't in a state to talk. When the officer was leaving, I boldly asked,
"What about the person who was with him?"
"A woman in her 30s. Ah, just as I thought. Despite my suspicions, I felt a slight shock. It had to be his mistress. That night, Jacob underwent surgery to repair his spinal cord injury. Though some functionality returned, he was left with partial paralysis in his lower body. I took care of the hospital admission and surgery procedures, but after that, I couldn't bring myself to visit him and asked William to do it. However, there was a day when William couldn't go, so I packed Jacob's clothes in a bag and visited his hospital room. It had been a month since I last saw Jacob, and surprisingly, he looked cheerful. Which was unexpected given his paralysis. He had started rehabilitation and might be discharged next month. That meant we had to remodel our house. Our home, a second-hand single-family house, had steps and narrow hallways, making it quite inconvenient for wheelchair access. Jacob would receive disability benefits, and he could switch to working from home. So money wasn't an issue. But the thought of caring for him weighed heavily on me. With his injury, it seemed heartless to bring up divorce now. As I was about to leave after just handing over his clothes, Jacob invited me to the lounge.
"Let me buy you a coffee as a thank you for coming."
"No, that's all right. Don't be shy." Him offering to buy me coffee seemed so out of character that I wondered if he had become strange after hitting his head. But once we got to the lounge, the mystery was solved. In a deserted room, Jacob and a woman, also in a wheelchair, were waiting for us. "Anna, it's been a day."
"Jacob, I've missed you."
"I've been so busy with tests we hardly get to see each other." Jacob was overly affectionate, and I tightened my expression. So, this woman was his mistress. They must have crashed while on a date in the car. I watched with a disdainful look as they leaned forward and hugged each other. What was Jacob's intention in bringing me and his mistress together? "Jacob, you're lucky. You have a kind son. You'll be well taken care of after discharge." Anna sighed.
"My husband is so cold-hearted, he'll never take care of me now that I'm paralyzed."
Then Jacob confidently boasted.
"Don't worry, Anna. Isabella will take care of both of us."
"What?" My and Anna's eyes widened in shock. Jacob turned to me.
"Please, take care of us."
"Oh, right. Looking after one or two people is the same." Anna, convinced, asked me.
"I'm asking too. And hey, make sure to remodel the room cutely while you're at it. I absolutely refuse to live in a tacky room."
"Yeah, right. Hey, let Anna decide the interior.
Isabella's taste is the worst.
You just need to quietly do as we say." "Jacob, you're tough on your wife."
"Of course. She's just a housekeeper."
I felt a surge of intense anger rising within me. Take care of them, huh? How dare they ask that? When I broke my arm, he didn't even wash a single dish.
What? Why don't you ask your mistress?
I coldly dismissed them, and Jacob and Anna stared at me in surprise.
Hey, what are you talking about? Anna's in a wheelchair too. It's impossible for her to take care of me.
Jacob frowned, then seemed to have an idea.
My bad for not introducing you properly. Isabella, this is Anna, the manager's wife.
I know.
Nice to meet you, I'm Anna Brown.
She greeted me with a sweet voice, twisting her body.
Are you misunderstanding something? I was just getting advice from Jacob, that's all.
Jacob nodded in agreement.
I'm 17 years older than Anna. It's ridiculous to think she's my mistress. Anna likes older men, right? The manager is 3 years older than you.
Jacob looked surprised.
You know quite a lot. Well, yeah, she seems to like older men, but do I look like the kind of guy who'd go after his boss's wife?
Jacob's denial only made me look at him more coldly. No. I know very well what kind of person you are. Unaware of my disdainful expression, Jacob fervently continued his lies.
See, when the manager invited me to golf, I visited his house. Since then, I've been giving Anna advice on various things.
That's right.
Jacob is so dependable, I ended up sharing various things with him, like troubles with mothers of my son's friends.
Oh, are you getting jealous? I'm sorry about that. Anna spread a malicious smile. Interesting.
In our 10 years of marriage, whenever I complained to you, I was yelled at, and when I confided my worries, you mocked me. That's because your issues were too trivial. I thought they weren't worth my attention.
Jacob mumbled his excuses.
We just happened to meet on the street today. We had some time before the train arrived, so we decided to drive somewhere quiet to talk. Then, unfortunately, we got involved in this accident.
Tough luck for us, huh? I was almost impressed by how effortlessly he could spin such lies. However, Anna played along with a smile.
Really, yeah. We just wanted to have some coffee and talk, then this accident happened. But if I can be taken care of by Jacob's wife, I feel relieved.
Anna sent a side glance my way.
Please don't make decisions on your own. I never said I would take care of you guys.
I said sharply, and Anna let out a mocking laugh in a low voice.
But you take care of Jacob's son, right? You can care for a child not related by blood. Surely, you'd be happy to take care of me, the wife of his boss?
That's right, Isabella.
For the past 10 years, I've been feeding you. As a way of returning the favor, you should take care of me, and of course, Anna too.
I was dumbfounded by their nonsensical logic and was left speechless.
You're still insisting she's just someone you consult with? Don't be ridiculous. Even a middle schooler would come up with a better excuse.
I glared at them and spat out.
Why don't you just admit it? Admit that you've been having an affair. An affair? Where's your proof?
Jacob's voice cracked in panic. He was flustered in an almost amusing way.
Yeah, if you suspect our relationship, show us the proof.
When I presented the explicit messages and photos of Jacob and Anna that seemed to be taken in bed, saved on my phone, Jacob turned pale.
You snooping through my phone, that's insane. Even between spouses, there are things you just don't do. I don't want to be lectured by someone having an affair. While your son is studying hard for his exams, you're cheating with your boss's wife, that's the worst a father can get. Shut up. Don't act like a mother when you're not even related by blood.
Jacob's words pierced my heart. Indeed, no matter how much I cared for William, I couldn't win against his blood-related father, Jacob. My hesitation in filing for divorce stemmed partly from the fear that young William might choose Jacob over me. As I bit my lip, the sound of a gurney echoed in the quiet hallway. A nurse pushed a bed into the room, stopping next to me. Glancing at the person lying there, I let out a scream.
Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown?
Jacob also exclaimed in a dumbfounded voice. He hurriedly maneuvered his wheelchair towards us.
Mr. Brown, we'll come to pick you up in 30 minutes.
Thank you. The nurse nodded to us and left the lounge. Then, using the bed's reclining feature, the manager raised his upper body.
I was surprised. I heard you had already been discharged, so I didn't expect to see you here at this time.
Sorry for startling you. The manager laughed, shaking his shoulders.
I had told Anna about it. I didn't want her to run away, so I made sure she didn't tell Jacob. You had full body bruising, right? Did they find anything else wrong since then? Yeah. My condition worsened last night. Just to be safe, I was admitted to take another CT and MRI. Wait, Mr. Brown was injured too?
Jacob asked, puzzled. Anna looked uncomfortable. Huh? Didn't Jacob know from Anna? I wondered. I had heard from the police officer on the day of the accident. Jacob's severe injury was caused by crashing at high speed into a car that was stopped at a traffic signal. And I had received a call from the manager himself, the person he collided with. The manager was the one Jacob hit, and the woman in Jacob's passenger seat was the manager's wife, Anna. From Anna's reaction, it seemed the manager had come to visit her. And she had kept quiet about the fact that the collision involved the manager and that he was coming to the lounge tonight to talk with Jacob.
Jacob hit my car at 93 miles per hour. You were unconscious and didn't realize it. What? I was conscious, so I knew.
Anna said grumpily, causing Jacob to widen his eyes in shock.
Then why didn't you tell me? I did tell you when the accident happened. I said, it's my husband's car. Not that. You could have told me the day before yesterday when we were here on a date, couldn't you? If I had spilled the beans to you, my husband said he'd demand $1 million in compensation for the affair.
Anna snapped back, her previously sweet demeanor turning demonic as she raged.
It was just a fling with you. I never intended to divorce my husband. But because of your mistake in causing the accident, my husband found out, and now my body is ruined. I'm still young, and my life is a mess now, divorce confirmed. It's all your fault. How are you going to make this right? Anna.
Jacob looked at her with a terrified gaze.
I'm so sorry. It's all my fault.
So, I'll let you off the hook for alimony in divorcing Anna, but of course, I'll be billing you. Pay up $1 million. The manager spread a malicious smile across his face. And Jacob, your insurance was expired, wasn't it? You'll be compensating for Anna's and my medical expenses, and of course, the BMW you wrecked, right? You're going to pay, right? I asked you to drive slowly, but you just had to show off at that speed. Stupid. Anna scolded Jacob in a sharp tone. And while I'm at it, let me just say this. All you do is brag about your son, and it's annoying. Anna twisted her face in disgust. Talking about how he has the same elite potential as you, and how he'll succeed in middle school entrance exams and go to the university, who cares? You're stingy with gifts despite being a manager, the hotels are second-rate, and the restaurants are third-rate. I wondered what kind of woman would be married to someone like you, and sure enough, she's just as lame. What did you say? I don't want to be lectured by a woman who had an affair with someone like him. I retorted immediately. This man is so full of pride, thinking, a boss's wife is attracted to me. He just got carried away with himself. Any young and cute woman would have done for him, right? That's why he showed off and drove recklessly. It seemed I hit the nail on the head, as Jacob guiltily looked down. If you cared about her, you would have driven more carefully. And to top it off, asking me to take care of your mistress as well? That's a sick joke. Shut up. Jacob snapped at me, then hesitantly spoke to Anna. Anna, you're gonna divorce the manager, right? So there's no problem with being with me. He persisted even now. I said no. Anna snapped back. Fine, I'll just rent an apartment and live alone with the help of a caregiver after I'm discharged. I never want to see your face again after what you've done to me. Pointing her finger at me, she scoffed. This guy, after all the nasty things he said to you, asks you to take care of him. How much more can you be humiliated? You're pathetic. Hey, Anna. Bye. Don't contact me again. Having said her piece, Anna expertly maneuvered her wheelchair and returned to her room. Jacob.
You'll pay me alimony, medical bills, and for the car. Expect the bill after you're discharged.
After the conversation, a nurse who had been waiting outside the lounge came in. As the manager's bed was wheeled away, disappearing around the corner, Jacob, with a red face of anger, burst out.
Damn her! She was so into me, but the moment I become paralyzed, she turns her back on me.
He wheeled over and clung to my arm.
You'll take care of me, right? You're my wife, after all.
I refuse. I pulled out divorce papers and a pen from my bag and slammed them on the table.
I was going to wait until after the exams, but I can't stand it anymore.
Sign these now. Jacob's eyes widened, then he said spitefully.
You're really gonna divorce me? I've taken care of you for 10 years, and this is how you act? That's just too selfish.
Who's taking care of whom? I confronted Jacob.
Do you remember what you said when I broke my leg? If you can't even take care of your husband, there's no point in you being here. I'm not supporting a freeloader. Be grateful for my kindness in keeping such a useless burden. Even thinking about it now, those were cruel words.
I unleashed years of pent-up frustration on Jacob.
You said that, yet you never washed even a single plate you used. And now that you're paralyzed, you want me to take care of you? Don't joke.
Jacob grimaced.
It was your carelessness that got you injured. I didn't need to step in. Well, it's your carelessness that got you injured this time, so I guess I don't need to take care of you either. All right, fine. I'll sign, okay.
Jacob, in frustration, scribbled his signature on the divorce papers.
Don't come crying back to me for a remarriage later.
Yeah.
William? What's up? Visiting hours are almost over.
I tilted my head at William, who had rushed into the lounge. Without responding, William ran up to Jacob and raised his voice unusually.
Dad. The money for my college entrance is gone. You know anything about it?
Yeah, I used it. Jacob admitted nonchalantly, leaving me speechless. William's kind face turned to one of anger.
Seriously? It's messed up to take someone's savings. Did you, by any chance, squander it on your mistress?
I asked, incredulous, and Jacob readily admitted it.
Yeah, that's right. What's wrong with a parent using their child's money?
Both William and I stared at Jacob.
Do you even realize what you've done? I can do whatever I want. I'm the father, after all.
Jacob's smirk sent a chill down my spine.
Besides, how are you gonna live without me, a stay-at-home mom? Who's gonna hire a 52-year-old woman? Dad, didn't you hear?
William said, a mix of astonishment and exasperation in his voice.
Mom just inherited $2 million from her aunt who passed away. What? William, you spilled the beans too soon.
I said with a laugh.
Well, that's the situation. Oh, but I'll still be demanding alimony, so make sure you pay up. Well, whatever. William, I'm counting on you to take care of me after I'm discharged.
Jacob tried to hide his disarray and smiled at William.
Even after the divorce, the bond between father and son remains. You'll be taking care of me for the rest of my life.
No way.
After you squandered my money, you have the nerve to ask me for help? What kind of nerve do you have?
William flashed a cold smile.
I'm going to a college out of state, so that's impossible. What? No, you were supposed to go to my alma mater, right? I changed my course a long time ago. I tried to tell you, but you were too busy to listen, using work as an excuse. No, William, it was different. Jacob was too busy doting on his mistress. Oh yeah, that's right. In the end, the family didn't matter at all. That's not true.
Jacob shouted in panic.
I've always cared for you all as best I could. Sure, I had an affair and squandered the savings on that woman, but you guys are what matters most. I worked hard at my job and always gave the paycheck to Isabella.
That's expected. Nothing to brag about. William said firmly.
While we're at it, I've always hated how you treated Mom harshly since I was a kid. What? Really? Of course. Isn't it obvious? Kids want their parents to get along. When I went to friends' houses, everyone would normally do the dishes and cook, but at our house, you were always bossing around. Mom loved me, even though we're not blood related, and I loved her. But why were you always so mean to her? Didn't you marry her because you loved her? I never understood that. William. I saved up my part-time job money instead of spending it, and you just used it like that and still expect me to take care of you? You've always been cold to Mom too. How can you even say that? William. Did you really think that about me?
Jacob was flustered.
We've always been close, right? You like me more than a non-blood related mother, don't you? Even if we were blood related, I wouldn't need a father like you. Mom's enough for me. It might be tough with her condition, but I don't want anything to do with you anymore. You can figure it out yourself.
You're right. You lack too much awareness as a parent. Even your own son has had enough of you. Such a pitiful person. Leaving Jacob stunned in the lounge, William and I happily returned home. Jacob, who had an affair with his boss's wife, was pressured into divorce by me and abandoned by William, ending up all alone. Furthermore, he had to pay alimony and medical bills to the manager, as well as for the car. And repay William for his college fund. To pay all these debts at once, Jacob, after being discharged, went to his boss's house to bow his head and begged to continue his job. Thanks to the manager's mercy, he was not demoted and started working from home, but the rumor of his affair with the manager's wife spread quickly. When he occasionally went to the office, he was bad-mouthed and eventually felt so uncomfortable that he submitted his resignation. Having lost his job, Jacob, who initially garnered sympathy from relatives when he asked for money, soon became an outcast when they learned he had squandered William's college fund. Finally, his strict brother took him in, vowing to straighten out Jacob's character. Meanwhile, Anna, after being kicked out following our divorce, rented an apartment from a relative and started living alone. She reluctantly began a computer job and relied on a caregiver during the day, but her twisted personality caused conflicts. After being refused by many, she ended up with only rude and harsh caregivers, leaving Anna scolded and crying every day. Having finally separated from Jacob, I used the inheritance from my aunt and the alimony from Anna for William's college fund. With the remaining money, I bought an apartment and am enjoying living alone. No one to complain about doing household chores perfectly or looking bad in public, so I've even restarted my part-time job after 10 years. My days are busy but fulfilling. Jacob, learning of my lifestyle, recently sent a ridiculous message.
Hey, you must be lonely without me, right? Maybe I should visit you sometime. You've depended on me all this time. Send me some gratitude money.
I blocked him for being too persistent, but he must have asked William for my address. Eventually, he showed up in a taxi in front of my apartment, loitering around, so I called the police and had him arrested. This time, it ended with just a formal complaint, but it turned out he had been loitering around Anna's apartment too. His brother was furious when he came to pick him up from the police station. Under his brother's watchful eye, Jacob is now confined at home, glued to the computer from dawn till dusk, working to pay off his debts. William, taking his father as a negative example, is diligently studying and enjoying college life. Even though we're not blood related, William is like a son to me. I want to continue watching over his growth warmly.